Okay, in today's session, we're going to be looking at the role of a fullback. In front of you on the table, we have New York Cosmos in their white strip and the new Newcastle kit. And we're going to use these two teams as an example to showcase the roles and responsibilities of the fullback position. Now, for those of you, especially the coaches with younger players, they're going to be asked to play in this position. And it's not just one position. We know that as, coaches of 7 to 11-year-olds, generally we will play everybody in different positions all the way through, because that's obviously what the FA ask us to do. So every single week you might have a different fullback until they get old enough to understand the positions on the pitch and they actually choose the position that fits them best. And then as coaches, it's our job to work with them and to bring them on in that position. Certainly by the time they get to high school, where they either get in the school team or they don't get in the school team, that's where you generally find that they understand their own position really, really well. So when we're bringing them through as a potential fullback, we're not looking at speed, we're not looking at whether they're aggressive enough for a defender, we're not looking at any of that. What we're looking at is, do they understand the position? Can we play them there until they understand the position? So again, it will depend on the coach and what their formation is, on what you're asking of your fullback, but there's generally two different types of a fullback. We'll look over this side. There is the fullback who is allowed to get forward, certainly up to the halfway line, and not just when we're attacking, but generally speaking, we'll work with the winger. So the winger and the fullback might swap in between. There is also the type of fullback, and we'll do this on this side, who has to be tight, in line with the edge of the penalty area, close to his centre halves, because perhaps we're worried about the attacking midfield or the attackers of the other team. Let's get some Newcastle players up here, bring a midfielder in. We're worried about a through ball in between the centre half and the fullback. We might be worried that they're slower than the attacking team, so therefore we need them closer together to prevent that breakaway goal playing through the lines. Or we might just actually have conceded quite a few goals recently. We want to keep the defence really, really tight and really leak-free. Now, obviously, we may start our fullbacks and our defenders really deep because we want to protect ourselves from that long ball over the top. So we actually play a really deep counter-offensive game, counter-attacking game, where we break free and then we're asking the defenders to move up the field and keep the line tight. But all that obviously influences what I have to do as a fullback. So let's look at some scenarios, okay? Let's just go back to this. Okay, I might decide that my fullbacks' starting positions from a goal kick are halfway up my own box. A lot of coaches now are trying to play this thing, I'm gonna stand my players in the box and I'm gonna try and play out from the box, and all that does is bring 3 centre forwards in from the other team who then take the ball off you, and 6 times out of 10 will try and score, or will probably score. So kids football, let's keep it a little bit less complicated. Let's suggest that fullbacks are able to offer themselves to the goalkeeper, because again, between 7 and 11, it's very rare to find a goalkeeper who can kick really well to the halfway line at least. And certainly when you get to 13s and they go to a full-size pitch, finding a goalkeeper who can kick over the halfway line at 13 is still a bit of a challenge. So we don't want to encourage the long balls, we want to encourage playing with the football, keeping the ball on the floor. So in this scenario, we've asked the fullback from the goal kick to come short and get the ball halfway up the edge of their area. And then we're going to ask them, and this is where when we're training them and we're doing our training sessions, we need to concentrate on balls on the floor and how the fullback or how any of the players receive the ball and then give it. We're then going to ask the fullback to get the ball and look up the pitch. But there's 2 things here. One, you play the way you're facing. So if you're under attack, let's say there's a centre forward here and he's blocking my direct path to my midfielder or my winger, then I play the way I'm facing. So there's nothing wrong in this scenario. We're giving it back to the keeper, who can then clear the danger or again pass it out to the second fullback on the other side. But let's just say I'm not closed down. That's where the centre forward is, and I've got the option to get the ball up the line to the winger. Okay, that's my job. When I've got the ball up to the winger, though, that's not the end of my work. I've then got to try and get up to support him. So whether that's because he's immediately closed down and the only thing he can do is actually to give me the ball back, and then I've got to try and find a second pass, and that pass might be inside to my midfielder, might be just a long 50-50 ball up to the centre forward. Doesn't really matter. I've just got to be able to offer support. So as a fullback, your job really is to offer a way out for playing out from the back, so an easy way out, because if I've asked my fullbacks to stay either side of the area, let's just say they're closed down, even if the attacking team are playing 3 up front, which they are in this scenario, I've still got 2 centre halves, one of which can come and pick the ball up. So if I don't want to put it here because he's closing me down, I've got the option of putting it here. Plus, generally speaking, in grassroots, so you might have, let's get these defenders up here, let's say we're under pressure, you'd still have, even in a 4-3-3 scenario from the opposition, you'd still have an extra man in the middle in this instance. So not only have I got a centre half that would be free to receive the ball, but I might have another midfielder as well, and it's how much vision the keeper then has and what you coach them to do in that scenario. But the fullback has to be that first port of call, has to give you that option. And when he's got the ball, the key is keeping hold of it, giving it into a man, into his feet, so that we can move up the pitch. So that's with the ball. When a fullback doesn't have the ball, though, let's look at that scenario. When a fullback doesn't have the football, let's say the ball is with the opposition midfielder here, and my midfield, let's get my midfield up here, let's start pushing up the pitch a little bit. Okay, so, and they're still playing a 3. So in this scenario, the away team 4-3-3. So it's a 4-3-3 versus a 4-4-2. In this scenario, the away midfielder, the opposition midfielder, has got the ball, and he's looking to try and get his striker in. So he's looking for that ball down the line. So he may decide to play that ball down the line to give this striker or this winger a chance to create an attack, to cause an attack. So what do I do as a fullback? Well, as a fullback, I've got to cover that. So I've got to go out to the ball. I've got to go and try and win the ball in that scenario. And at that point, my centre half would probably be covering the space behind me to make sure that if I don't make that ball, he's there to protect. So in this scenario, there's a saying, better safe than sorry. So you might decide that, you know, you don't want to take that winger on. You've got the ball back. You don't want to take the winger on. So safety first. If in doubt, kick it out. There's nothing wrong with that, because as a fullback, your first job is to defend and protect your goal. But if you've got the chance to, on the ball, again, looking to feed that winger in if you're playing with wingers, or looking to find that midfielder if you're playing with midfielders who can control the ball, who can stop the ball and move it forward, that's always an option. But the first job of a fullback, win the ball back and then look to set up an opportunity down the wing. So in this case, we've got it out wide, and then the winger would look for runs in behind. Okay, but let's say the ball's been played in. So we're playing a tight back 4, and the ball's been played out here. So the winger's on the ball, okay? Now, as it stands at the moment, there's no danger here. The danger would be if I can get here. So whilst we're out here, there's no danger. The job of a fullback is to actually try and force this player to stay out wide. The longer he stays out wide, and the more I'm protecting from that ball coming in here, the better. So the ability to force the player, the opposition player, away from goal and force it as far away from goal as possible is a key criteria to being a good fullback player. Yeah, don't allow the cross to come in. Don't allow the player to beat you. Stand them up, and that means not diving in, because the minute I try and dive in, if he's a skillful winger, he'll take it round me. I've dived in, not got the ball, and then he's in. Okay, so patience is a real criteria for a fullback. Hold the ball up, stand them up. You don't always have to make a tackle, let them make a mistake and then take it off them, take it away from their feet. So a number of different ideas for how you play fullback, a number of different rules and responsibilities. Protect your goal, show and give an option for the goalkeeper so he doesn't have to kick it long. Take your wingers or your midfielders away from goal, shepherd them out as far out wide as possible. Don't let them come in and don't dive in to a tackle. They're the basics. There's lots more. You know, when a fullback gets the ball, he's got to try and set up attacks, give it to his midfielder, go and support the midfielder. This is just a basic overview of fullback responsibilities. But nevertheless, it's important to understand those fullback basic responsibilities from a young age. The only other things to mention in this scenario is, obviously, I've got to talk, I've got to communicate with my centre half. Usually, the fullback and the centre half on their side will be quite attuned to each other's way of working, to each other's way of moving the ball. So plenty of communication, plenty of leadership skills and talking. And again, patience is a massive part of playing a fullback.